The Beatles launched their first album in March of 1963. But it's not simply an album, it's a sonic snapshot of a band on the cusp of history, bursting onto the scene with infectious energy and raw talent. It's a document of a cultural shift, a turning point in British music, and a blueprint for the sound that would define a generation. This is our look at Please Please Me by the Beatles. First, let's look at the individual tracks. The album kicks off with I Saw Her Standing There, a punchy guitar-driven rocker that explodes with raw energy. The harmonic perfection of Paul McCartney and John Lennon is shown full force. The deceptively intricate drumming of Ringo Starr sets the pace, and George Harrison serves as the perfect backdrop with his always reliable guitars and backing vocals. Next is Misery, a mid-tempo ballad fronted by John Lennon, showcasing his vulnerability against McCartney's melodic genius. It's a simple arrangement with a heartfelt delivery that creates moments of beauty amidst the upbeat energy. Now we come to the first cover of the album. This was pretty common in the era, with most artists deferring to more well-established songwriters for content. The Beatles were actually an outlier at the time. The notion of a self-contained band creating their own material was rare for the British music scene. Anna, Go To Him, was originally released by American country soul singer Arthur Alexander in 1962 and became a favorite of John Lennon, who added it to the band's live performances leading to the recording of the album. George Harrison gets his turn on lead vocals on the next selection, Chains, by Jerry Groffin and Carole King, originally released by an American R&B girl group known as the Cookies in 1962. This is an early showcase of the band's versatility, a third lead singer, and John Lennon's harmonica skills at play. Ringo is up next with his only lead vocal offering of the album, the third consecutive cover, Boys, by Luther Dixon and Wes Farrell, that was introduced to the world by the Shirelles as a B-side to Will You Love Me Tomorrow. Another upbeat example of the band's love of classic R&B, the vocals, as always with Ringo, are an acquired taste. Ask Me Why is a charming and innocent song about first love, featuring sweet harmonies and a driving rhythm. The track demonstrates the band's knack for crafting timeless pop melodies and is an often overlooked vocal by John. Rounding out side one is the title track, Please Please Me. The first single released by the band in the US, it's a joyful anthem of youthful desire, built on a simple but irresistible melody led by McCartney's impassioned vocals. It also became the band's first UK #1 single, cementing their place in the pop culture landscape. The first half of the album races by at just under 17 minutes, but delivers a burst of infectious energy that is the essence of the early Beatles sound. If you are enjoying our trip down nostalgia lane, please take a moment to boop that like button and subscribe to our channel. If you want to take your support one step further, check out our eBay store, which we have linked below. Side 2 of the album kicks off with the first UK single for the band, Love Me Do. Personally, I think this song kind of drones along, but the 1-2 punch of dual lead vocals by Lennon and McCartney never truly disappoints. The band immediately follows with P.S. I Love You, which was initially the B-side to the Love Me Do single. Principally written by Paul, it is a more tender offering, showcasing the rise of one of rock music's most prolific love ballad writers. Next up is Baby It's You, written by Mac David, Barney Williams and Burt Bacharach. Another cover of a song previously released by the Shirelles. This time it is Lennon out front, but the real star here is George Harrison, who actually outshines Paul on the backing vocals. The song itself is pretty short at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But by extending the bridge and guitar solos, a wedding band would have a really great slow dance song in their back pocket that is pretty easy to play. As if he were capitalizing on the momentum from his performance on the last song, George Harrison takes the lead on a song written by Lennon and McCartney. Do you want to know a secret? Originally presenting itself as more of a bolero, this acoustic lead song builds on a pretty simple melody with delicate harmonies and flashes of falsetto that make this one of the more musically diverse songs on the album. A Taste of Honey started out as an instrumental theme written for the Broadway version of an English play of the same name. It was originally written by Bobby Scott and Rick Marlowe, but vocals were later added to the song in releases by Lenny Welch and Billy D. Williams. The Beatles patterned their version after Lenny, but this quasi-jazz shuffle feels out of place with the other up-tempo songs and the ballads on the album. The penultimate track on the album is There's a Place, another Lennon-McCartney dual vocal that is very typical of the time it was released. Introspective, but sweet. It is the shortest song on the album at only 1 minute and 50 seconds. It feels like it could have benefited a lot by adding just one more verse. It is definitely a template for the more internally focused songs that the band would release over the next few years, but it's still a little too short. And finally, the album ends with Twist and Shout, the sixth cover on the album, written by Phil Medley and Burt Russell. While the song was already a hit for both the Top Notes and the Isley Brothers, this version is the one that typically comes to mind when people think of the song. John's shredding lead vocals, combined with the backing harmonies of Harrison and McCartney, have made this song timeless. All in all, Please Please Me marked a turning point in British music. It ushered in the British invasion that would sweep across the globe in the coming years. The album's infectious energy, catchy melodies, and undeniable talent resonated with a generation yearning for something new and exciting. As previously stated, it definitely sounds like the time in which it was written. It's poppy and fast in places in a way more cynical fans might find corny. Those who prefer the later work of the band might feel like it lacks depth. But this is how things were for pop musicians in the early 60s. It took bands like the Beatles, The Who, the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, and artists like Bob Dylan to truly stretch the genre to what it could become. From an audio quality standpoint, this can sometimes be rough. The album was recorded on a 2-track system that would seem prehistoric to most modern artists. We have the ability to create a nearly infinite number of tracks with just our phone. But the Beatles did this with only 2. Please Please Me is more than just an album, it's a cultural phenomenon. It's a vibrant snapshot of the Beatles in their early days that is brimming with youthful energy and drive. The album's influence over music and pop culture is undeniable, making it a must-listen for anyone who just loves music. Thanks for sticking around with us. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.